over there and listen to what he has to say.
Bear the risk of slowing down IEBC momentum as the Commission prepares to conduct a free, fair, and credible election. We wouldn't want from the government sector anybody with a following, and politicians have a lot of following, even if that following is 50 people, to try and set that following against elections. We should use that persuasion for elections, not against elections. There is reason to wonder whether the opposition is really keen on going into elections on August in view of this and many other frivolous attempts to interfere with the calendar which was agreed on a bipartisan way for elections to come. Indeed, it is wrong and insincere for anybody to continue insisting that IEBC is partisan regardless of who is appointed or the process through which the bearers of the office there are appointed, because I believe the process through which IEBC was put into place is really as bipartisan, as democratic as it could get. We note that Senator Mudhama and his colleagues do not have any legitimate ability to stop the election. Because one person or two people saying that there will be no election, really, they do not have any legitimate authority against the aspirations of 40 million Kenyans to stop the elections. They can only do this by inciting their supporters to use violence to disrupt the process. We must appreciate that if you are over 18, you have a right to vote, but it is not a mandatory thing. You can choose not to vote. You can choose not to take part in elections. And more so if you are a politician or a group of politicians who have sensed defeat. But that does not mean you mobilize to stop anybody else from taking part in elections. The government has urged and taken part in campaigns to mobilize Kenyans for voter registration. We are very pleased with the turnout during the nominations. And really, it is a civic responsibility of all of us, whether you are in the media, whether you are in government sector, whether you are in NGOs, whether you are in churches, you are in mosques, whatever kind of organization you are, it is our civic responsibility to encourage Kenyans to exercise their democratic right and to do what one can do wherever they are to ensure that this process is peaceful and democratic. While the government is ready to counter any criminal acts designed to disrupt this critical democratic process, we wish to state the following. All Kenyans of goodwill, be they politicians, religious leaders, or ordinary wananchi, must know their actions and utterances seek to facilitate the successful conclusion of the current electoral process. Any machinations that manage to scatter the elections will come with a heavy cost to our beloved country. Patriotism is about preserving a country and underwriting its progress. Our problems are poverty, underdevelopment. For example, everybody is feeling the pinch of the fact that we have not managed our water resources very well historically. Over the weekend, I went to Nyahururu, and a bag of potatoes around that area. You can even buy one debe and you are given another debe free. Those who don't know, the debe is that tin which in liquids bears 20 liters. that container. Today, it is 500, simply because the rains failed. These are the problems we must look at. The cost of life cannot be brought down by exciting rhetoric, by mobilizing our followers in the wrong direction. Secondly, we want to note that while disputes are normal in any political contest, we must all bind ourselves to accepting arbitration and resolution through the institutions that we have all participated in setting up. In this case, the courts and the IEBC. I believe all of us were here in 2010 when we did those laws, very exhaustive constitution, and it must be binding to us. You cannot operate within a law which only captures your imagination. There is no law in this world which captures the imagination of any and every person. And in every judicial decision made anywhere, from Durban to Siberia, the courts will always, the judgment must always favor one person and not the other. So long as there is a dispute, it must be ruled in favor of the other. And you don't gauge the legitimacy of a judicial process or any other arbitration body on account of the fact that you have lost or won. We must leave them to operate independently within the law. Anything else apart from following the legally laid down procedures, especially by the supreme law of this country, and that is the Constitution, is an invitation to anarchy and an escalation of the problems we are having in this country, while every Kenyan has showed a lot of keen interest. Every Kenyan, from the market to the villages, historically we have never seen this kind of turnout for political party nominations. We have never seen that kind of stiff competition. And therefore, Kenyans are very keen, and Kenyans are very keen on the rule of law and the progress of this country. This is clearly not the time or the place to make irresponsible threats. In Kenya today, that is the wrong, no matter how much these align to some people's political ideology. Over the years, there are politicians in this country whose every other action indicates that politics is not complete without violence, without unnecessary dispute, without hate speech. That is not correct. We are capable of a peaceful, as a country, election as the ordinary citizen has so many times demonstrated. I wish to reiterate the government's commitment to ensuring that Kenyans enjoy a free and fair election and a peaceful, harmonious coexistence for all our people, regardless of their political preferences, before, during, and after August 8. To ensure this, the government is prepared to take any steps necessary so that the constitutional rights of the majority of Kenyans are safeguarded to the farthest extent possible. We are very keen on that, and the government and all the agencies under the executive arm of the government have been working overdrive. We are also pleased at the pace in the judiciary